What can you make with paper templates and a foam plate? How about this? A 1701 refit Enterprise. Now what can you make with this and a micro drone? How about this? Your very own remote control Enterprise. And you can make this for less than 25 bucks.
Dock control reports ready, sir.
Helm ready, sir. Impulse power, Mr. Sir.
For this project, you'll need one of these little DX1 micro drones. I bought this at the local super center for about 23 bucks. This is a Sharper Image product. Really good little drone. You'll need one of those. You'll also need some foam plates. I bought a package at the dollar store. And you'll also need some templates. And I'll give you a link later in this video for these free templates that I created for this project. And also an optional 3D printed stand to display your model. I'll give you a link to free STL files for that. So if you have access to a 3D printer, it makes a nice display stand for your model. And it's also a little takeoff platform when you're flying, so it comes in handy. So the first step is to get the drone out of the package, get it charged, and get it in the air. We're going to get it trimmed up, make sure that it flies well, and also get some stick time in. These little drones are a little bit touchy, so you want to get some experience before we add the frame of the Enterprise. With the extra mass of the frame, it'll be a little bit more touchy, so you want to get some experience now. We're going to print both template pages on regular printer paper, but print in the highest quality setting you have on your printer. We're going to start building the secondary hull and the warp drive nacelles first, and to do that we'll roughly cut around each one. Now we're going to bend the graphic in half. We're not going to crease it here, that will come in a minute. It's helpful to have a work light so that you can see the back graphic and the front graphic, and the idea is to align them perfectly using the light. And what I do is use that black outline. Once you have the front and the back lined up, then pinch it with your fingers and come down and create a crease across the bottom very carefully. And then tighten that crease up with your fingernails, and then double check it and make sure that the front and the back are aligned exactly. That's really important. It's a little bit tricky, might take a little bit of practice. Use the force if you have to.
That's not how the force works.
Now we're going to apply some glue to one side on the inside to glue this together. I like to use the Elmer's Extreme glue stick because it holds really well. But on the secondary hull, we need to bend this tab and this tab back over so that we can attach it to the primary hull. So what I'm going to do is apply glue only up to this line so that we can bend those backward. Okay, so I've folded and glued the secondary hull, both warp engines, and also this side piece to the top of the primary hull. So while the glue dries, we'll set these aside and start working on the primary hull next. So I'll use a straight edge and a sharp X-Acto knife to cut out the primary hull side piece. Then I'll use scissors to roughly cut around the primary hull top piece. We can use an X-Acto knife to cut the center of the foam plate out. Then we'll apply some stick glue onto the back side of the primary hull top graphic, and then push it down firmly in place on top of the foam. For the next few steps we'll be cutting the foam, and it's really important to have a good quality hobby knife like this. This is an X-Acto with number 11 blades, and I like to keep lots of spares on hand. To get a really good cut through the foam, you need a good quality knife like this.
That's not a knife. That's a knife.
We want to be sure to cut exactly on the outside of the cut line as we cut around the primary hull. We'll wait to cut these 4 sections out until we get the graphic on the other side. Now with stick glue applied to the back of the bottom of the primary hull graphic, we're going to carefully align it using the feature at the back and lining up the edges, and then push it firmly down in place. Now we can cut out the 4 openings for the quadcopter props. Well, now that the glue is dry, I can cut around all of these pieces, cutting exactly on the outside cut line. I used a straight edge to bend this top detail piece. I'll put some glue on the bottom here, align it on the saucer, and glue it in place. I'm going to apply glue on 1/4 of the primary hole at a time and start attaching the side detail, lining up the features as I go along. And we want to be sure we're lined up here and that we're flush across the top. And then I'll keep applying glue and just work my way around. We've got the primary hull done. It should look like this when you're finished. You might have a little bit of warpage on your parts from the glue, but just straighten them out with your fingers and they'll be fine. And we can use a straight edge to bend the tabs on the top of the secondary hull. The next step is to make the bends on the engine pylons. So oriented in this position, you're going to make the first bend toward you and then bend the warp nacelle away from you. They should look like this when you're finished. With a little bit of glue on the tab, we can line up the graphics on the secondary hull and stick it in place. Just make sure the lines are lined up, just like that. And then the second in the same way. Now it's time to join the primary and secondary hull. We'll apply some glue onto the tabs. And then line it up on the graphics. And press it in place. And there is the finished body of the Enterprise. You may want to do a little bit of tweaking on the pylons and engines to make sure they're straight and parallel with each other, and about that high above the primary hull. The next step is to attach the body of the Enterprise to our drone. We have a nice flat surface right here, so we can attach in 2 ways. We can use a little bit of stick glue right there, or the method I prefer is double-sided sticky tape. That way it's less permanent. I bought this at Walmart for about $1. I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife to trim off the extra, and then we'll get the body stuck on there. That looks pretty good. For this next step, I'm going to use my 3D printed stand. What I'm going to do is set the drone on top, and this will give us a nice surface for mounting the body. Now if you're not going to use the stand, or you don't have a way to print it, you can do the same step by putting your drone on the edge of a table like that. Now the important thing is to orient this in the correct way. On this drone, the charging port is at the back, so we want to orient the charging port back like this. The other thing we want to do is orient the propeller so they point into the center. We're going to use those to help us align the body. So what you want to do is look straight down on this, unlike this camera angle. If you look straight down, you can look at the gap between the tips of the propeller and the cutouts of each of those circular features there. Once that is perfectly aligned and centered, and you have the back of the Enterprise over that charging port, and you can just push it down on the tape and push it down snugly. We've got the Enterprise finished. Now the next step is to get it trimmed and get it flying. So the first thing we'll do is turn the power on. I'm going to set this back on the stand. And the way this drone works is you turn the power on the transmitter, throttle up, throttle down, and it binds. Now since we've added the body to this drone, it's going to be very tail heavy. So the first thing I like to do is push my forward trim about 10 times just to get started. Now we'll check the pitch trim and see how close we got just by guessing forward trim. I'm going to take off from the base, but you could easily take off from your hand or put it on the edge of the table. Let's see how close we are. That's not too bad. That's really good. You can always trim it a little in flight if you need to. Now one thing to remember with the added mass of the spacecraft on there, you want to be gentle on the controls. Don't fly it like Luke Skywalker's stunt fighter.
Placed a bullseye womp rats in my T-16 back home.
If you get really crazy with your control inputs, you can outrun the gyros and you may crash. Now it's best to fly in a large room, but even a small room with a little bit of practice, you can do okay. When it's time to charge your Enterprise back up, it's a simple matter of just kind of pushing over the secondary hull and plugging it in like that. And then once it's charged, unplug it and just straighten it up a little bit and you're good to go again. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this project and I hope you get to build one for yourself. They're a lot of fun. If you'd like the free STL files for the base or the template files, just click the link on the screen or you can check in the description for the link. Until the next Sonic Builders Club project, I'm Richie and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. If you like what we're doing, click here to subscribe to our channel.
Or click here to visit our website.